Are you staring at your rosters with multiple players on either IR or listed as out? More players than you actually have IR spots for. Which QBs are ascending into full-time starter status, and who's going to fade into the background? You have moves to make to help build your roster, but you need to know where to start. Well, we're here to help tonight on the Rod Pod. It's time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, J.J. Wenner. This is the Rider Dynasty podcast. With me are my co-hosts, Jameson Hutchinson. You can call him Geronimo, and Joe Harlow. Now, we have decided to take a slight break from our regular format to tackle some questions that have been keeping us up at night. The questions that even though we think we know the answers to, we aren't quite ready to buy it. So, gentlemen, I'm looking for some help with my restless nights. Jameson, do you think you can help me?
I can try my best.
Joe, are you going to help me?
I'll do my best, but some things just go bump in the night.
Oh, that gives me nightmares, and I don't like that. But I'll tell you what doesn't give me nightmares, gentlemen. Starting your season off right with IDP Plus. Visit idpplus.com and for a limited time, get 20% off any subscription with the promo code PROPS. Get access to our tools, data, and IDP articles. And don't miss out on our subscriber Discord, where your subscription gets you full access to our entire suite of tools. And we know some of them by name. So go to IDP Plus and start your march towards fantasy glory today. Joe, do you have a busy life? Do you eat a lot of fast food?
Yeah.
Well, are you getting tired, Jameson, and looking for a change of pace with your meals?
I am.
Well, have I got a deal for you? Go to idpplus.com/HelloFresh and get your first delivery for free. Pick from an exciting range of recipes and get fresh ingredients delivered straight to your door. Often, a week's worth of meals costs less than a single trip to your grocery store. And there are no wasted ingredients. So just visit idpplus.com/HelloFresh and get a free box today. All right, gentlemen, let's kick off the debrief with Jameson and some Mark Andrews talk.
I wish I had good news, but I need some help and some spiritual guidance for Mark Andrews. Through 3 weeks, it has not looked pretty. Tight end 29 on the year. Ironically enough, 29 years old. So just from obviously people in redraft, but Dynasty too. Last week, 33% snap share, which when you were him at the return, regular redraft, and have had high capital in them, especially for Dynasty. 1 target last week, week 2 against Las Vegas. 5 targets and then 2 targets against Kansas City in week 1. I know a lot of people have hyped up Isaiah Likely. 62% snap share last week, so it's not like he is going crazy over there. 1 target as well. Are we hitting the total panic button on Mark Andrews, or do we just try to kind of hang in there for a little bit? Before you answer that, can I list the top 10 tight ends so far this season?
Please
do. You have to?
No, Joe, come on.
Starting off with number 10, Hunter Henry. I think that kind of fair. Number 9, 90-year-old Zach Ertz.
Okay. Ew.
Number 8, Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts, people would take that at this point in life.
Sure.
Number 7 and 6 are tied. This coming from ESPN, so just kind of depends. But Mike Gesicki and George Kittle.
Okay.
Number 5, Trey McBride.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Number 4, Isaiah Likely, coming off of just him and this next guy. Number 3, Cole Kmet. Both of their production came from 1 game. So, their 1 game is the reason why they are bumped up there. Number 2 is Brock Bowers, which is nice. And number 1 would be Dallas Goedert after his monster game this past week. But Some guys that we have left out that we invested heavily in: Dalton Kincaid, not in the top 10. Mr. Ferguson from Dallas. Sam Laporta, tight end number 1 this year in redraft. And Travis Kelce, our fan favorite. They're all outside the top 10. So I want to ask about Mark Andrews. Are you pulling the lever on the panic button? And then just tight end in general. Should we ride the wave? Should we abort mission? Like what? How do we handle this? I'll start with Joe, and then we'll go to JJ.
I'm not gonna pull the alarm bell or whatever just yet. A lot of that, to be fair, is because what am I gonna pivot to? But I think the injury he had in the offseason was really hampering him a lot more than us, or especially the Ravens, let on. But if tight end was like the gluttonous position we expected it to be, then I would be willing to ship him. But I mean, who am I going to drop him for? Like Colby Parkinson, Jonnu Smith?
No fan.
I'm gonna. I will gladly take not gladly. I will take 2 points out of Mark Andrews before I take a chance of getting 6 out of one of these guys on waivers.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, I can't cut him. Like,
No.
I benched him this week. I mean, he's on my bench. I think I started Ty Conklin over him after his big week, but I feel like I'm like a week behind on every tight end.
Yeah.
Because, like Jameson said, they have a blow-up week and nothing before and nothing after.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what's going on and why the position as a whole just seems so flat this year.
Yeah.
It's brutal just because the capital, and if you listen to a lot of analysts and experts this year, this was supposed to be the year to buy into the elite tight end. And as somebody who has been on both sides of it, tight end's getting to the point of like defense and kicker where I'm just ready to quit them altogether instead of trying to figure this stuff out. But just tight end overall, Trey McBride's real nice. Obviously, Brock Bowers is exciting, but a lot of these top options, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, even Mark Andrews, are getting older. I'm worried that this tight end position as a whole is about to like reset again. And that's kind of the thought process. It just tight end through 3 weeks so far is extremely difficult, like always. And I tried everything in my power to get it right, and I still get it wrong. So just
years past, it's been a struggle outside of the top 3 guys, but where there's been a top 3, now there's just like
it's nebulous.
It is
like our background.
Yeah. Ooh, that takes cumulus, but
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. You science nerd.
Nerd works, but thank you. I will say in a dynasty league, I'm just holding Andrews. I don't think you're going to get any value for him. Same with like a Travis Kelce. Like I've seen offers of a 3rd rounder for Travis Kelce. Some people have been like, I'll give you Kelce for a 1. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore. But
would you take a 2nd for Kelce in dynasty?
I definitely would.
Yeah. As a contender, if I didn't have another tight end who I felt decent about, I wouldn't, or I would still be willing to give it to for him just on the chances. But yeah, if I'm not a team looking to win it all this year, I'd take a 2 for him probably.
What about Andrews? Jameson, what would it take for you to get Mark Andrews? What would you be willing to give up for him?
Not sure if I'd be willing to give up much. I'd almost rather punt the position. Is that an answer, a suitable one? I mean, let's say he takes this year, not necessarily off, but he doesn't produce like normal Mark Andrews does, and he comes back next year. He's 30, and this pass offense in Baltimore it's been okay. I don't think it's been as hyped up as Todd Monken, as people hyped him up to be, like, say, Ryan Grubb in Seattle, where they're just going to pass all over the yard. I mean, Derrick Henry just ran wild over the Cowboys this past week. So I'm just trying to get out of these like old tight end bags that I have. So I don't think I'd take anything for Mark Andrews or to have him on my roster.
Well, hi to Pete. What's going on, buddy? up in Jim Thorpe. You should just come down for the pod, buddy. You can sit right next to me. All right. Are we done talking about tight ends? Are we going to move on to our next nightmare? Or
I guess just what tight end? Who's your tight end one for the rest of the season? You have to pick one.
Trey McBride.
That's probably the easy answer. Who's your tight end two? Or outside of him and Bowers, I feel like those are the ones you feel best about.
Well,
Then
they're going to be 1, 2. If David Njoku ever decides to come back, I think he ends up in top 5. That's cheating, though.
I think Ferguson will end up there. He missed a bunch of games with injury.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to inch up.
yeah.
I mean, depending on how long A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are hurt, maybe Goddard could make a serious run by just being a healthy body there.
Yeah.
That's.
I think I'd be between Njoku and Ferguson too. I think Kittle, I don't expect to be healthy. Goddard, I think will go immediately to third fiddle. Then Laporta, Kincaid, they still have the path, but
A lot of it's just timeshare. Like we thought
yeah,
Dalton Kincaid would get a full-time role. They decided to run the ever-loving bejesus out of the ball, and it's working, so there's no real reason to start that. Like you said, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, I mean, I've never been the Kyle Pitts guy, so I'm not the one to talk here, but, I mean, he could kind of sneak in there, but it just – I don't know. It just times are tough out here. It's week 3, and, you know, we need thoughts and prayers over here.
It's tough in them streets. So, Joe, what's going on with some veteran QBs?
Yeah, there are a lot of older QBs in new-ish places. Talking Sam Darnold, now with Minnesota, Justin Fields with Pittsburgh, Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers, his second year there. Jared Goff kind of fits into this. I think he might be a little outside the discussion with the Lions. Derek Carr with the Saints in his second year. Then I guess there's also Geno Smith and Deshaun Watson who have been with their teams for a while. So I think they're a little outside the conversation. But really, I want to hit on Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, and Derek Carr. They've been pretty darn good this year so far. And I kind of think, how much do we believe in these guys to sustain success?
Should we go through them in order, like Sam Darnold?
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you think he's the next like top tier quarterback.
So what would a 6 be? If I'm a 6 on Sam Darnold, that means I think he's going to be a starter somewhere next year, but I don't think he's going to be. I mean, if he doesn't go to a team with Justin Jefferson, he's not going to be
Kevin O'Connell.
QB2.
QB2 as an overall or
No, oh hell no. No, I just meant like top 24.
Okay, just making sure.
No, I am a Jets fan, so no.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing great things, but he's with probably the best quarterback coach right now, right? Like KOC is getting all the buzz, and he has Justin Jefferson. I don't know. I'm not going to buy Darnold before. I'm not going to buy Darnold.
I'd give him like a 4. He can kind of end up in the Andy Dalton range where, you know, maybe get a spot start. I mean, nothing's going to happen after this year just because of J.J. McCarthy. Like, they can't just waste that because Darnold's playing decent enough. But I just don't see. I've seen too much Sam Darnold in real life. Like, I know KOC is probably one of the top 3 offensive minds in football right now. Maybe top 5. I don't want to eliminate myself there. But, I mean, you put him, say, in Chicago with Shane Waldron, I mean, the wheels fall off within the first half hour. Like, it's very, spot dependent. So, he's fine. Nothing more, nothing less. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'll give him a 4.
Yeah, I think I'd go 6-ish, maybe up to a 7. But again, like, I don't think that's too high. I'll go 6. I'll also go 6.
7's high.
7 is high. I said it, and it's like, no, that's way too much.
Even
I really love
feels
Sam as a
too
prospect. The talent is absolutely there. I I think it is going to be spot dependent, but I do think we've seen a few times. We saw it with Geno Smith that being able to sit for a little bit, get your bearings back, and then get with a good offensive coach can really revive you. And then even Geno with Shane Waldron, who I think has proved that he's not a good offensive coordinator or play caller, at least. He really has turned into what I think is the top 8 NFL quarterback. We can talk about that later. Not a topic for right now. But I think there's a real chance where next year he's the Rams starting quarterback, where Stafford gets the crap beat out of him again this year and is just done. I could see him maybe at Cleveland. I think he'll get the Baker Mayfield contract somewhere, which still one that you can get out of easier than a Daniel Jones contract, but one that's like legit. It's quarterback money, but still won't preclude a team from taking a JJ McCarthy. But he's not someone I'm buying in most leagues, especially right now when like the price for him is going to be really high. But I sold him in a league I'm super rebuilding in. What'd I sell him for? I don't remember. I'll find that real quick. But I think I do think he's a starter next year. I could see if he's my quarterback 2 in a dynasty league right now, Superflex, or quarterback 3 in a Superflex, I'm very content. I'm not trying to find someone else to upgrade over him.
I mean, if you've been holding the Sam Darnold bag, you are pumped for this resurrection that he's had this year. Because that thing was, gone, last year. The spot start with the 49ers. But I mean, I would try to, if I could get anything for him worth relevancy, I would. But as far as the future goes, he just kind of is what he is. I've seen enough Sam Darnold. I know how that story ends. But that's just me. He is younger than Joe Burrow, though. Just a fun fact I saw this week on the Twitter machine.
Yeah, he was 21 when he started with the Jets. Jets like their draftees young.
Okay, so next name, Justin Fields. Comment from Pete.
Is it time to sell high on Fields in Dynasty? He's your QB 3, maybe a high second or a later first with a second attached onto Fields. Man, Fields is a very tough read for me. The thing about Justin Fields that can't be discounted is how much his teammates love him.
Yeah.
Like, he is beloved wherever he goes by the people around him. You don't really see the veterans like demanding like that he get benched. Yeah. I don't know. People gravitate to Fields. So I think he might have a much longer career than we are expecting.
Does anybody notice that Russell Wilson's calf injury just keeps getting worse? This might be the worst calf injury of all time now that he's been benched and Justin Fields has been just good enough to – I would say Justin Fields has been slightly above average. For fantasy, it's not. He has been very condensed, and I'm worried that this week is a blow-up game against the Colts. I mean, Colts have never had any gap discipline under Gus Bradley. They've done terrible against, these athletic quarterbacks who can run. And, I mean, especially, like, if you wait a week and him and George Pickens go off this week against the Colts, I mean, his people will finally get to see the Justin Fields that they thought they would get in fantasy when they got him this cheap. He'd be another guy to sell high for me, but I'm a guy who burns and turns. So, like, if I see a spot, I'm going to take it. I don't just kind of how I play Dynasty, though.
So Fields
would you take that deal, Jameson?
Yeah. So I would.
So like a late first for Fields in a second?
Yeah, I would do that. So obviously the rest of your roster, but I'd feel comfortable taking that.
I would too. However, looking at it, Justin Fields' schedule for the next 5 weeks is a lot longer. Colts, Cowboys, who have been atrocious against running quarterbacks, Raiders, who suck, the Jets, the Giants, bye week, Commanders. That's through week 10. If you love Fields, if you're hesitant on Fields, I would honestly, if your team's in a good spot, I would probably hold him through week 10, let him really blow up. I don't see a way he's getting benched unless he gets hurt, and sell him after week 10. And that's when I'm doing it.
Yeah, I would say somebody's excited about Justin Fields, but I would say
Somebody has to
like I said earlier, I mean, even if he has a couple blow up games, he's not getting benched for us because unless he plays just so bad that he falls off a cliff. I mean, usually the first month, the defensive coordinators start to kind of figure this stuff out. But I mean, Justin Fields has been more than fine, and there's no reason to bring in Russell Wilson, who sucks. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but he has been terrible for like 3 years now.
The fantasy stats for Russ last year very much lied. He was not that good.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So
I think Fields is just the rushing upside gives him something, and he's one of those guys. There will always be someone in a league who thinks he's a top 8 talent.
Yep.
Which he might be that talent, but someone will believe in him always. I'd say if we gave Darnold a 6, I don't see how you can give Fields less than a 5.
No, I would actually, if I'm comparing the two of them, I'd probably rather give a 6 to Fields and a 5 to Darnold.
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite there, but I've always been hesitant on Fields, so.
Yeah, I think Fields is fine. That's like you talked about the mirage for Fields. It's like Patrick Mahomes right now as a fantasy quarterback. Like everybody thinks he's always like the best. In the last 2 years, he's been maybe average, if that. But that's a different discussion. We can move on to the next quarterback we got.
Derek Carr.
Let's hit Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr and Jared Goff. I feel like they're very similar, at least in general perception. Because let's rank those 3: Mayfield, Goff, and Carr.
Carr would be last for me. It'd be Goff, Baker, and then Carr.
Goff, Carr, Mayfield for me.
Okay.
I've always liked Derek Carr. I don't know why. It's one of those irrational things that is true.
He deserved better than the Raiders, is why.
He did deserve better than the Raiders. And I think the more comfortable he becomes in a system, and I said this yesterday, I just feel like so much of the NFL is luck for players. Like, where do you end up? And if you end up with a crappy coach, if you go to the Panthers and you've had 3 offensive coordinators in a year and 2 games, I don't know what chance you really have. I don't know what chance you have. So I think if everybody was put on equal footing, I think it would go Goff, Carr, Mayfield. But Goff and Mayfield and Carr are very close for me.
Jameson?
I think like I said, a Goff, and then it'd be Baker, and then Carr. Derek Carr without his offensive line, I mean, that's going to be pretty tough. So the next couple weeks, and then I think Goff's fine. I think he's more stable than probably Baker Mayfield, but I think both are okay. So
I agree there. I've always been a Goff hater, I guess, for lack of a better term. But yeah, Goff, I think, is getting too much hate right now. Yeah, he struggled, but the fact is he has an elite offensive line if and when Frank Ragnow comes back, which that's going to be a huge thing. Which I know in my Start Sit article this week, that's why I think Seattle's is going to win on Monday night. I think maybe pretty handily, but just first game without Ragnow, who calls the line and protections. Anywho, I do feel best about Goff. He's been in the system for a long time, and I think even at this point, when Ben Johnson leaves, the system will still be in place enough to kind of maintain at this point. Though we've said that before, Baker is just so. I just wish he knew what he was. But then Carr, I don't trust. He's been decent against pressure this year, really good for his standards. I don't believe it. This O-line is awful and now injured more. But yeah, Baker and Carr are firmly QB2s, lower end QB2s for me in Dynasty, and then Goff is that borderline QB1, depending on the health of the rest of the team.
And I would take all 3 over Darnold.
Yep.
I might take Darnold over Carr, or same with Fields. That's really just kind of a team build sort of thing, though.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson sucks. We don't think we need to talk about him. And Geno, let's hold off for a later time.
All right. Well,
thanks, guys.
I need to take a quick second with you two and check in.
Oh no.
Oh no.
On Anthony Richardson. I got caught up in the preseason hype. I'm not going to point fingers at any two co-hosts. So I drafted a lot of AR. After another big dud performance, my question is, are we still in on him? For me, I am not sure what he is supposed to be right now, right? He's a big arm QB. He has a weapon in his legs, but he's currently 5th in QB rushing, only slightly ahead of Malik Willis. I mean, according to fantasy points, he is tied for 6th in explosive runs, which are runs over 15 yards. He's tied with Bo Nix and Jacoby Brissett. He sits behind, right? He sits behind Sam Darnold. He has more explosive runs. And without that big time rushing component to his game, can he survive in the NFL? I mean, this past week, he was 36th in highly accurate throws and 38th in catchable percentage. Ahead of only 38th, ahead of only Drake May. 38. There's 32 teams. Like Tim Boyle came in and threw more catchable passes than AR. So
what are you saying about Tim Boyle? You implying he's not elite?
I'm just saying, are we having patience or are we benching him right now? Jameson,
I will
Mr.
I will say have some patience with him, even though it is a very tough look when he is standing in front of an ocean and finds a way to overthrow it by like 3 miles. I mean, some of the passes this past week I cannot defend. A couple problems with Indy right now is the pace, or not the pace of play, how many plays they are running. They're about 4 short of last year, which is like a total drive. And the problem is he will hit the big deep ball, but they have a bunch of 3 and outs, so there's no rhythm, there's no continuity. A lot of the misses are bad misses, and I can't defend that. But and then the other thing with him is not a whole lot of designed runs. I think those are coming just because of the state of the Colts, and they have to win. If he can't hit those, I mean, he's going to have to go on the run. He wants to sit in the pocket and deal. I mean, he's dealing 2-9 off suit. I mean, what he's dealing is not very good at the moment, but I do think you need to have some patience with him. This was kind of a part of the plan. It wasn't supposed to look as bad as it has. Josh Downs he played last week. He's going to ramp up. I think he's going to be kind of the safety blanket for him. You need to have some patience, but if you are wanting a more solid floor, especially say if you're playing Superflex, this probably goes more to that. I don't blame you. Redraft even, like if Sam Darnold, if you feel like you are in a close contest and you just want a safe floor, I know that's ugly, but
that just hurts every ounce of my soul, Jameson.
But
Dude,
I'm
God, the thought of benching AR for Sam Darnold. If I had said that in this preseason.
I know. Have some faith. I think it's going to be okay, especially with how bad the defense is in Indy. I mean, it can't get any worse right now, so it'll get better. I'm fine.
Joe?
In a 1 quarterback league, if you have that range of a safer quarterback, I'm fine with benching AR. We need to have patience here. He's played 13 games, or 15, 17 games in the past 4 years since high school. Like, he's a young player. There's gonna be growing pains. I think if there's too much hype going into the year, I think could he still be a quarterback 1 this year, or even a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely. But there's going to be growing pains. Look at how Jalen Hurts started with Shane Steichen. It was atrocious for a year and a half. And Jalen does not have near the tools that AR does. Not a slight at Jalen, just that's a fact. He doesn't. He's not as big. He's not as fast. Doesn't have the power arm. but he just hasn't played a lot of ball. There's going to be a lot of stupid plays he makes. And unlike a Bryce Young or like some of the other busts we've seen, he's in a better spot than a lot of other young players who've had to start right away. He has that leash. Joe Flacco's not going to take over for him. It's not going to happen. Unless this continues through week 8 through week 14, then maybe. But this is the future of the team. There's going to be patience. The type of thrower he is going to make he's never going to be a 70% completion guy. Like, he's never going to turn into like what Josh Allen has done in an accuracy standpoint. I guess he could, but Josh Allen's a once in a lifetime. Go Pokes. But yeah, again, in a 1 QB, I think they're not rushing him as much right now is a good thing. I think it could turn into like with Josh Allen, who ran like a wild man the first few years of his career, fumbled a lot, got hurt. I think they saw that with AR and are kind of pulling back a little bit. But he's still running 6 times a game. That's more than enough for me. I don't think he's going to throw 2 picks a game for the rest of his career, the rest of the season. I think that'll come back a bit. Josh Downs is going to be huge, having some sort of outlet. It's like Michael Pittman's the only threat in the passing game until Downs came back. So just double him, and then all you have is Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce, who pretty much just Zoolander. Just all they do is go straight right now.
Yep. It's a one-trick pony.
So having Josh Downs, someone who and Jonathan Taylor is not a good receiving back, not a good blocking back, really. So having someone who, when things get weird, you can just be like, oh, he's 6 yards away. I can get the ball there. And yeah, he'll still miss some, but.
All right, I'm giving him 2 weeks.
I think it's all right, but I don't think we've won JJ over with this description, but I'm still going to have patience. So
2 weeks. I'll give it 2 weeks.
All right.
2 weeks. It was funny. A student walked up to me yesterday, and he's not on my team. He's on the other team, and we were talking about fantasy football, and he needed a quarterback. And I'm like, well, who's on your waiver wire? And he opens up his app. He was not on the phone, principal, I promise. And he shows me his waiver wire, and right at the top is Anthony Richardson. And I'm like, well, don't you want Anthony Richardson? And he was like, nah, he's not that good. I was like, oh, you're losing the youth, they are.
Times are tough. 3 weeks
But
in,
to be fair, he would have a hard time spelling cat if I spotted him a C and an A. But he does play fantasy football, so I support him. All right, gentlemen. Well, it is football season, and that means a trip to see your favorite team on the road, right? Well, with Expedia, you get the best prices when traveling. We are thrilled to announce our new partnership. Need a flight to Denver, rent a car in Miami, or a hotel in San Francisco? Need to go to Indy to yell at a certain quarterback, to run a little bit more, or throw lower? Well, go to idpplus.com/Expedia and build the best package to travel to the big game. Jameson, speaking of me, you are up, my friend.
I want to talk about what to do with the Dolphins down in South Beach. Obviously, the Tua stuff, it sounds like he's going to play again this year. I would expect after his IR stint, he will be back. But you get Tyreek Hill, who is 30 years old, and Jalen Waddle, who is pretty much underperformed. We'll get to Tua in a minute. I want to start actually with Tyreek here because I want to relate it to a problem I had. Christian McCaffrey was at one time the best of his position like a year ago. And I know he was an older prospect, and I tried to make it happen to where I could sell him for something before what happened. And now I'm sitting with a Christian McCaffrey bag that I can't do anything with. And it's pretty apparent that when Tua is out, you can't do anything with Tyreek, and he's 30 years old. Like, are you guys holding him? I mean, do you trust Tua? I mean, are you trying to just kind of ride the wave, or are you trying to get out from this if you have any shares of them long term? It just kind of having trouble trying to figure this one out personally. So we'll start with Tyreek if you guys have any thoughts on that. I guess we'll start with JJ.
Do I have thoughts on Tyreek Hill? Of course, I have thoughts on everything because I'm insane. Tyreek Hill, I'm not keeping Tyreek. I mean, if you have Tyreek on your team in a Mike McDaniel offense, man, that guy can He can score a lot in a short period of time. Am I concerned about Tim Boyle being his quarterback? Yeah, I watched Tim Boyle play last year, and it was not pretty. I still don't know how that man is in the NFL, having thrown more interceptions than touchdowns in college.
He's friends with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of weird friends. They don't all play in the NFL. So I don't know. I am keeping Tyreek. I would have a hard time benching him for man. Like, no, I'm not benching Tyreek. I'm not benching him. If he's healthy and on the field, I'm playing Tyreek Hill.
Do you feel the same way, Joe?
Yeah. Again, I think it's one of those, like, who are you going to play over him? Like, I don't feel good about it. He's, as long as Tua's out, he's a wide receiver 2 to me. He's had some success with Skylar Thompson or Mike White. Was that the other backup when Tua got hurt last time?
The savior.
Yeah, they cut Mike White. They should have kept him.
Yeah. I honestly, seems like Tyler Huntley might play soon. I really hope so. I still think Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley can be pretty good, at least as a spot starter in this offense. So I'm not out. I don't think you would ever be able to get enough for what Tyreek Hill could be. I think even if Tua was healthy right now, I don't think you could sell Tyreek. So I think he's a firm hold.
Are you guys worried at all about, let's say, something happens to again this season? And I'm not trying to say he retires. I guess I am. Let's say something happens to Tua. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, that totally plummets Tyreek and Jalen Waddle long term. I mean, are you guys worried about that part of it at all as far as the pass catchers? Because we've seen it. I mean, like Garrett Wilson was fine with Zach Wilson, but I mean, you'd prefer him with Aaron Rodgers, like that sort of thing. Do you guys have any worries there?
I don't.
No.
I don't think Tua's a great quarterback. He's a mid-tier quarterback to me at best. He's firmly in that Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield range, which is a wide range, but
Right.
like if Sam Darnold, if we're putting him in that offense next year, I don't feel worse about either of them. And part of that's Jalen Waddle. I will always view higher than anyone else because I think he's freaking awesome.
I love Jalen Waddle as well. I'm with you 100% on that, Joe. And
whenever I start a Madden franchise, he's always the first receiver that I want to get. I love Jalen Waddle. I always have, but I think. But
I think it sums it up. Then you guys seem less worried than I am, which I guess it's nice to, go to you guys and comfort me. But it's something I'm kind of worried about. Like I said, just from my experience on the Christian McCaffrey stuff, I feel like I've just lost everything.
Well, I mean, Jameson, if we just talk about the 4 quarterbacks, right, who we ranked, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, if any of those 3 were in Miami,
it'd be fine.
Would you be worried about?
It'd be fine.
Okay.
I think. So
Justin Fields, I would be just as a runner more, but
it's just another element for the offense, more explosive. So I think we're good there then.
Yeah. To be fair, it is far more precarious than it was this time last year.
Yeah.
Because there is also the chance they draft a quarterback and it's Bryce Young or Will Levis.
So,
but I even think a Bryce Young or a Will Levis would be in a much better position with Mike McDaniel as is.
That's
OC.
Also true. That's very true.
So I think Mike McDaniel will cure a lot of those ills. Now, if we are going to talk about Tua, though, Jameson, I have some real concerns with him continuing to play. It is his life. It's 100% his life. I have nothing like Godspeed, my friend. Like, do whatever you want to do. You only get one body, though. And, man, I wasn't prepared to see him get hit like that again. And I don't know. I don't want to see that again. I really don't. Like, it makes me really scared for him, his future. I don't know.
It's tough. So, But I think we are all good on the Miami talk, unless you have anything else, Joe.
No, yeah. I will say the last thing, if like a Jalen Waddle was my wide receiver 10 random number dynasty wise, then he's probably 15 to 17 right now. They've dropped a little bit, but still same tier.
Gotcha.
But Tua, I just hope he's okay.
Yeah, we're not here to tell him to go retire or whatever, but
I am. I am.
so
I'm almost 50, and life gets hard the older you get. And it's something that I think we often forget how young NFL players are. Like, they're babies, and they're playing with, they don't even know what they're playing with yet.
right.
And that really worries me. So, Tua, if you're listening, just consider
Sure
it.
is.
He's not. All right, Joe, what do you have for us?
So let's talk a little bit about second-year wide receivers. In the sake of time, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Initially was going to go for the higher end of the barrel. There's a lot of good second-year receivers. But let's talk about outside of the first rounders from last year, then Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, and Puka Nacua. Those 8 guys, I think, have established themselves as near. Well, QJ's a little different, but
Where the fuck is the diaper bag?
one second.
So, looking at those wide receivers.
Yes. So outside of those guys, there's a bunch of talented players. They're Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, Michael Wilson, Wicks. I just kind of want to pick one of those guys who you think by the end of the season could be in the same tier as that top 8, or in the same range in that list.
So, you're saying the top 8 being JSN, QJ, Flowers, Jordan
Addison,
Reed,
Reed,
Rice, Dell, and Nacua.
Yeah.
For me, it's easy. It's Downs.
Okay.
I think I liked what I saw from Downs. I think he tied for the lead in targets with 5 yesterday on the Colts. Yep. I like him more than Pittman on that offense. I think he has a better connection with AR. I definitely would take Downs above a couple of those guys. Well, maybe one of those guys.
There's the only other one I would say Downs too. The only other one in conversation would be Dontavian Wicks, but he just ends up in such a timeshare. I mean, when he was on the field with Jordan Love, especially last year towards the end of the year, he did some really good stuff. So that would be the only 2 for me on that list. But Josh Downs, I know. Go ahead.
Are we overlooking Yoshivas though? I know he's not like getting a ton of targets, but I mean, he has 17 targets, 10 receptions, 85 yards, and 3 TDs. Like, I don't know if he won't probably ever be a wide receiver 2.
No.
But like that Tyler Boyd role was a very good role. Like, Tyler Boyd was drafted all the time.
Right.
He had of some like wide receiver 2s on their team.
I think he's good. I don't think he's as talented as the other 2. And the other worry about that, which I know he could step up as the wide receiver 2 next year with T. Higgins gone. But Eric All, the rookie, has looked really well, or really good as well so far in Cincinnati. So it just ends up being another target. But I like Yoshivas, Princeton grad. So real smart kid playing football is kind of cool. But I think he deserves to be in the conversation. I'd still take Downs and Wicks over him, but I think it's fair.
I think that's totally fair. I think Michael Wilson also can be in that next tier conversation, but always
he had a big week.
Yeah. I think I would go Wicks. Just Downs is probably the safer choice, but Wicks I think has significantly more upside, but I don't think Downs really. Yeah, I'm going to go with my heart and go with Wicks. I love Josh Downs, but Wicks I think just really has a talent if Christian Watson gets hurt again, Jaden Reed regresses. I think he's the one who really could, and he's shown a lot of rapport with Jordan Love in limited go. So that'd be
all right. Well, I'm going to take your topic and I'm going to hijack it a little bit.
Please do.
So, looking at the list you put together, for those of you who can't see our internal documents, because of course you can't, The guys who were in that second tier, which of these guys, how do you rank them? Jonathan Mingo, Marvin Mims, Jalen Hyatt, and Cedric Tillman, and Demario Douglas. How would you rank those five? Or,
like if I'm in a startup draft? Oh, go ahead.
Are there any of those five you would want on a dynasty roster?
Maybe.
For me, looking at it, and I'm going to vamp to give you a little more time, Demario Douglas is the only guy I would want, and possibly Marvin Mims.
I was going to bring up Marvin Mims, but I would not be surprised if Mingo got some run this week with Adam Thielen out. I hope Xavier Leggett finally gets it done, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But Mims, Douglas, but it's not people I'm advocating for. Rest of it's pretty bad.
I'm still in on Cedric Tillman. I had him as a first round prospect, so I'm going to be on him longer than most. He's one of those guys I'll say in 20 years, be like, oh, he still could be awesome. He could have been great, but he's the one for me. I just, outside of Amari Cooper, I don't believe in Jerry Jeudy one bit. David Bell, I think, don't get me started. I hated David Bell as a prospect. Njoku's the tight end. There's a world where I think Tillman really could be a year 3 breakout.
Yeah.
But then year 4 comes around, year 5.
Maybe a year 7 breakout.
Maybe. He's the one to me. And again, at this point, I'm not expecting to get any real contributor, so I'm going upside. But then it would be Pop Douglas or the upside with Marvin Mims, who had absurd metrics at Oklahoma. So did he end at school in Oklahoma? Or did he go somewhere else as a senior?
Oh, I have no idea. You know I don't watch college football. What are you talking about, Joe?
Sorry.
Does Oklahoma even have a school? Are they good?
Are they paying their players?
That's a loaded question right now. Benching their. Oh, he did say at Oklahoma. Benching their potential superstar sophomore quarterback for a freshman this week.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What about UNLV? Mm-hmm. Their quarterback.
Skula Doncic not gonna be there anymore. That's a lot of weird stuff with NIL.
All right, let's not go into that. All right, gentlemen, let's finish off.
RIP Mountain West.
Been a good conversation, but let's finish off with the preview of tonight's game. Last week, Jameson was kind enough to give us some bets, and we offered our opinions. Now, this is not a betting show, thank God, because Joe won handily.
Holy crap! I did
2 correct answers.
Out of
Jameson and I finishing with 1 correct each.
Out of
we don't have to say that. Come on, JJ.
No, see, I don't do betting shows. Like that's the trick, right?
Yes.
Joe nailed 2 right bets, but he lost 3, and we're poor. So anyway, not good, gentlemen. We're going to do
fade us
tonight.
Fade us, apparently.
Fade us. So in a battle, last week was AFC East. Tonight it's the NFC East. The 1-2 Cowboys are visiting the 1-2 Giants. Now, although the records are the same, the way they arrived there is slightly different. Offensively, the Cowboys have scored the 6th most points in the NFL. Dak and CeeDee. The Giants have scored the 4th fewest points. However, they do have that rookie star, Malik Neighbors. But defensively, Dallas has allowed the 3rd most points, with Eric Kendricks leading the team with 29 total tackles and 2 sacks. And the Giants have allowed the 14th most points, with 5 players practically tired, with 17 to 19 total tackles, including 17 by your boy, Drew Phillips, Joe's sleeper corner.
Woo!
So, Jameson, what are the lines for tonight?
So we've got the Cowboys going to New York. Cowboys are favored by 5.5, which is a little weird. It seems like both these defenses are reeling a bit, and the over-under for the game is 45 points. So pretty middle of the pack. I mean, like the Lions-Cardinals game, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, was at 53. So just kind of give you a measuring stick of what we're sitting at. Some of these low end games end up in like the high 30s, so we're right at the middle of the pack. I guess we'll just start there. Who do you guys like, and are we going to see points tonight?
I'll take Dallas. The points there, minus 5.5. I think they'll win by 2 scores. I know 6 is more than isn't 1 score, but I think they'll win pretty handily. Giants are down their best corner, 2 of their top 3 corners. I guess sticking with it over under. I'll go under a gross blowout, maybe like a 27-12 sort of game, just weird score.
All right. I'm going with Dallas to cover. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I'm going with the over because neither of these teams. Oh, wait. But I'm not taking into account that it's a Thursday night game. Am I, Jameson?
No, it's been a little goofy, but if there's a over to hit on this, it'd be this one. I mean, both these defenses have not been great.
Dallas is terrible on defense. I'm going with the over. I don't care what anybody says. What are you doing, Jameson?
I'll follow along. I'll do the Cowboys minus 5.5. I think that's a pretty safe line. I just think they have more horsepower. They have Micah Parsons on the one side, which I know Giants defense has got some guys on the defensive line, but I mean that secondary's beat up. I mean both these defenses suck, so I'll take the over 45 on that as
DeMarcus Lawrence, if free thing here was my start of the week at defensive end, and my start sit article from Thursday.
There you go. So and then just a couple lines here. We'll start with Dak Prescott with the Giants corners out, the nickel, and then Adoree Jackson is going to be it. Drew Phillips and Adoree Jackson will be out. So Dak Prescott over under 259.5 passing yards. JJ?
Well, he's leading the league in passing yards right now. I don't think that changes with Big Jake back in the fold. So I'm going with the over 259.5 passing yards for Dak.
How you feel about it, Joe?
If they had a running back who was average, just one who was average, I would go under here, but I'm going to go over. They don't have a running game at all. The Giants have not allowed a quarterback to hit this mark yet, but that can do it.
Well,
I'll hit
barely any quarterbacks hit that mark in the whole
You're
league
not wrong.
in the first 2
You're
weeks.
not wrong.
So I'll hit the over on that as well. CD Lamb over under 81.5 yards. We just talked about the Giants secondary is missing. That feels like a pretty easy over for me. I think it's a blow up spot for him. But Joe, 81.5 receiving yards.
I'm going to be different. I'll go under. I think this is going to be another Jalen Tolbert and Jake Ferguson game. Do I believe that? I don't know.
I'm going to go under as well. I'm going to say he's going to score like 2 touchdowns on 75 yards.
Like
There you go.
9 catch for 70 yards and 2 touchdown game.
That's what I'm going with.
If Dallas gets ahead too quickly and Giants can't keep up, there won't be a reason for it. So I can definitely see that happening. And then the last one, Malik Neighbors over under 6.5 receptions. And just for reference, week 1 against Minnesota had 7 targets, 5 receptions. Week 2 against Washington, he had a whopping 18 targets, 10 catches. And then week 3, 12 targets for 8 catches. So the line is 6.5 going up against Mike Zimmer's defense that looks like he should have stayed retired personally, but 6.5. JJ?
Over.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Malik Neighbors, so I have to believe.
We need to push it. Joe?
I don't see how you could reel this. Even if I was being cheeky, I don't see how you could go under. It's over.
I will hit the over as well. So I plan on going 5-0 this week. I feel good about it. I feel a lot better than I did last week. So
That's awesome.
How about that? We'll see.
Whew.
Positive
So
reinforcement.
before finishing up, we just got in the IDP Plus Discord, which if you subscribe, you can get into. There was a start-sit question that was Jalen Tolbert versus Jalen Waddle. That's from a T. Eisenhower 21. I don't know if you're watching or will listen later, but shout out to you, subscriber. Thank you for this week with Devonta Smith out. Crazy that we're at this point. I think I might go Jalen Tolbert.
Over who?
Jalen Waddle.
I'm
God. Wow.
That sucks. No,
That just
Man,
popped up,
I
and I
don't-
had to mention it.
Tolbert versus Waddle. And who's starting for Miami? Is it Tim Boyle?
I think it's probably Boyle this week. Who are they playing?
Hell no. I'm going Tolbert. No, I saw Tim Boyle. No, Tim Boyle can't even throw the ball. Did you know he doesn't even have an arm? He just goes to the elbow. He does the Jason Williams behind the back pass from the All-Star game just with the football. That's how bad Tim Boyle is.
They're playing the
Hell no.
Titans. The Titans have good corners. Yeah, I don't care.
No. Unless the only way is if Waddle gets like screens. But
Which
I
they
still
haven't
don't
been
see it
doing.
happening. I don't see it happening. Nope.
The Titans, and this is per the invitational scoring, are the 13th worst. They're middle of the pack. So, and the Giants are, where are they? The Giants are actually
middle.
better, but they have all their corners gone. So,
I'm going
That-
Tolbert.
one more bet to give. If you are an IDP degenerate, DeMarcus Lawrence, I said, is my start of the week. He has 12 sacks in his last 13 games against the Giants. And the Giants this year have allowed, this is all in my article, free ads for me. Sorry, guys, to hijack a little bit. In 3 games, they have allowed secondary defensive ends. So, like, not Myles Garrett, Jonathan Grenard, or those are the 2 they played because Washington doesn't have a 1. Cleveland and Minnesota had their secondary rushers finished with 5 sacks combined. DeMarcus Lawrence, secondary one, so playing the odds that he gets a sack.
I love DeMarcus Lawrence.
Boise State, right?
Oh,
SEC.
Once again,
What the hell?
you're
Mountain
talking
West.
about college. Did he play before Dallas? I thought he just
He's been
started
there
there.
forever.
I know. Yeah.
Just spawned as a Cowboy.
All right, gentlemen, it is time for tags, where we share any final thoughts we might have and let everyone know where they can find us. Jameson.
As always, I'm on the Twitter machine at Jameson Rules every Sunday with Joel Worth over at IDP Plus doing DFS. If you listened this past week, gave out Saquon Barkley at sub 5%, number 1 running back overall. So every week, just grinding, and then here every week with you guys. So that's about it.
Joe?
Great show as always, Jameson.
Appreciate it.
You can find me at JoLo63 on the Twitterverse. My Start Sit article came out this morning, where DeMarcus Lawrence and some other names are, including we didn't mention a Penn State player, but Odafe Owe is my sit this week. Only this week. He's going to get blow up after this week. It's a horrible matchup. It's a bad matchup. Talk about a year 4 breakout, but sorry. You can find me, at the Twitterverse, also tweeting about my playoff-bound Orioles. Woo.
Must be nice. No comment.
It's been like the only 2 times in a while for me. So you guys have springs. You're fine. That's about all I got.
That's kind of funny. We do have spring. All right. I'm at JJ Wenner on X. Thank you to everybody who joined on the stream tonight. Thank you for Pete for sending in your comments and questions. Thank you, Joe and Jameson, for their work on this episode. Make sure you're tuning in with Jameson and Joel Worth on Sunday. Make sure you're reading Joe's articles. They do great work, much better than anything I could ever do. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday to the All Out Blitz, where Doug and I dive into the film and analytics for week 4. And come back on Thursday for another live Rod pod. So from all of us to all of you, be safe, be well, and as always, my friends, boat drinks.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.